Good morning, everybody. My name is Jade Alberts from Calgary, Alberta, and a happy pre-Halloween day. We've got a little Halloween theme along the border and so forth. So I like Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays. And when you have kids, it works out really good for us adults. So today's guest is Shannon Mayer. Shannon, thank you for joining me. And how are you today?
Doing really well, Jade. Thanks so much.
Oh, no, I'm so excited to start our conversation and have our conversation. I know that I guess I always talk about how networking and how we met. We met online, and then we had a Zoom conversation. And then I think for the first time in probably 15 years, I stood someone up for coffee. I still feel bad about that. And I think about it every day. And I put it in the wrong day in my calendar over the blockchain summit. And like I said, it just stews in me and how bad I feel about that.
You know, that was quite an adventure because I ended up in a particular store and I ended up doing a bunch of shopping. So, I ended up with some really great gifts and a really fun, a couple of decorator, pillows for my home. It worked out really well, actually. However, yes, our coffee would have been probably even better time spent for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least there is a positive that came out of it. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
And it still doesn't make me feel any less worse, but at least I'm happy something positive came out of it.
It's all good.
That's good. All good. So I'll give a brief introduction here for Shannon, and then we will get into our discussion. So Shannon is a leadership coach and human resource consultant who partners with leaders and small businesses to help them flourish by developing leadership expertise and effective people programs. Success in business is challenging for many leaders and organizations today. The pace of change is unprecedented, and leaders are scrambling to lead effectively and live a balanced life. In our program today, Shannon will share some common challenges and solutions for leaders in today's environment and some tips for small businesses, which is great and why the focus of this Facebook Live show. So one thing I want to kind of bring up is you're in a unique situation. You're a leadership coach, human resource consultant, as well as a co-owner of a boutique hotel in Nicaragua. Please share with how both of these came to fruition for you.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of a unique story. And when I connect with some colleagues who I haven't, spoken to in a while, they're like, what? Say what? Where are you? Because everybody knows I'm a career Calgarian. And I was there for a long time, 24, 25 years. I actually still call myself a Calgarian for many reasons because it's still home. Yeah. And, I do get back there. And of course, I do work with, some colleagues and I stay close to my network there. But you're right. So 3.5 years ago, I did relocate to Nicaragua. It is an interesting story. So I joined my significant other, my partner in life, to join his life number 2 to move to Central America to open up a boutique hotel. So certainly I embarked on that. Absolutely. And I did bring my business with me. So I am a leadership coach and human resources consultant. Thank you, Jade. You bet. And as I said, I do call myself that career Calgarian. I grew up in Saskatchewan, and like many people, I moved on over early in my career in the early 90s over to Alberta, like many of us did. Yeah. And yourself too, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I started out as an inspiring, professional in the oil and gas industry, like many of us did as well. And after a few years I spent working in payroll and benefits, I made that career change. I moved over to human resources, where I oversaw the full function of a human resources department, policy, compensation, recruitment, and worked really closely with our leaders and my peers to create and deploy our people programs. So with that, I grew over the years, and working really closely with my leaders, I really found that passion. It was a natural transition for me. And I developed that passion reward to really help my peers solve challenges and become more successful leaders. So I started Creative Impact in 2011 and finished my coach training in 2012, and then made that transition over to being a solopreneur. Bumping ahead a few more years, I joined this adventure down here in Nicaragua, and so I have both my practices going. Well, actually 2 jobs, I guess I could say. Essentially, they're very different jobs, but ultimately highly committed to serving my clients fully in both ways.
No, that's awesome. I think that's
Yeah.
you're one of the first people that I've actually interviewed that some have multiple businesses, but I mean, something that a lot of the businesses are the same. These are like one's over here and one is way over here. It's totally
Yeah.
different, different industries. I mean, obviously people industry, but it is interesting. And I mean, I've been to Costa Rica and I'd love to come to Nicaragua. So if we ever make a trip out there, at least I know where I'm going to be staying. So
Please do. Come on down. Yeah.
so I guess.
Yeah.
You know, in today's world, the leadership is really evolving and really changing. What do you think the state of the leadership is today?
You know, it's a really great question. And I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear that the business environment it's an unprecedented pace of change. And leaders are really challenged in that because just when you're trying to develop a particular strategy or you know, that 3-year, 5-year business model, it just doesn't work in today's environment. They find that very challenging. As much as it's nice to be able to say, you know, have a plan, because ultimately you do need to goal set and have plans for your business or, you know, as a leader inside of a large organization. But it is shifting. The landscape is moving a lot. So people are really, you know, finding it very challenging to lead in that whirlwind. The demands are bigger. The demands of people are different. They're wanting to be inclusive. They want to have learning and growth opportunities at a faster rate of pace, as well as just the ability to think critically and manage your time and trying to be very organized, as well as leading people effectively, communicating, setting clear directions, so people can, you know, execute on those goals. So it is a really challenging environment for leaders and the younger workforce. We always want to talk about this younger workforce because we were younger once too, but there's some real generalities and they do want to learn and grow and they want to be involved. They want to be inclusive. They want to be part of a business. And of course, leaders are trying to really find that time to balance that, have those meaningful conversations, grow and develop their people, but also find that time to be, you know, strategically thinking how they need to execute on their business strategies as well. So that's what I really like these days.
No, and that's interesting. I think you brought up a couple really good points there. I mean, leaders, you know, they find such a really difficult passing on their wisdom, passing on what their vision of the company is, passing on any of the knowledge that they have. But some of them don't take the time to work on themselves and better their, whether it be communication or listening or whatever it may be. So I think that's a very good point.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a struggle, and it's interesting because in talking with many of my clients, it's how do I have that conversation? How would I approach making my one-on-ones go from mechanical to meaningful? You know, mechanical being the work to meaningful about career and job and, you know, satisfaction, engagement. How do I bring their needs into the conversation? Are we getting what we need from each other? Do individuals feel like they're getting what they need from their leader, from their organization, and generally the work that they're doing? So I have many conversations on the how they can deliver that most effectively. Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree. One thing I find interest about your background is it's been a while since I've actually had an HR professional on here. I think it was Michelle Berg of Elevated was one of my first probably 4 or 5 guests, and she has a wonderful practice here in Calgary. But how does the HR? I mean, HR and sometimes leadership seem to in organizations combat. How does that help your teaching with leaders?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and for me, you know, I went into a human resources career because there's that people and business element. And the success of human resources professionals, certainly in today's environment, is that where you can really balance growing meaningful people programs and helping your leaders, ultimately your senior leaders and engagement, to develop a business that's worth belonging to. And there is that balance. So creating those right people programs that also are aligned with your corporate objectives. So I had the opportunity to do that. I worked for small to mid-sized businesses where I was very close to my leadership team and as a leader myself. And so what I find that for me personally, it afforded me the opportunities to really work with my leaders really closely, to deploy our programs and to really help them, be more effective as leaders. Help them problem solve, help them work through challenges, and then see the reward when they come out on the other side with a better performance management conversation, or they've turned around a challenging behavior, or they've been able to work through, how they would, have these right conversations. So for me, it was a lot of work in that space. So that led into the leadership coaching. So being close to that in the organizations that I did work with and the leaders that I built those partnerships with was a natural transition, I think, for me. And also it's that love of helping. It's that passion to really work with people, to work on their own self-awareness and how they can be better. It just seemed that when I, became a consultant, I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to really work independently with leaders as well as business owners to help with people programs as well.
No, and that's, and I agree. I think that's a really good point, how they can work hand in hand and how, you can benefit, on both sides. I think that is amazing. Again, I'm talking to Shannon Mayer of Creative Impact Consulting. You can click on her website, creativeimpactconsulting.ca, which is in the comment section. Josh Penner made a comment saying exit strategies are obviously, and cool point about the time horizon. So he really thought that was a very good point. So he wanted to thank you for that. No question, but it was a nice little comment. So thank you, Josh.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I do have an interesting question about leaders here, and, based around industries. Do you find that, if certain industries groom better leaders?
That's a really great question. And so in my experience, I've been working with a very broad variety of industries and levels of leaders. And what I'm finding, generally speaking, the answer is not really. But what I see, though, is industries offer training and development programs. They really care about the growth and development of leaders generally. And some are more successful than others. But generally speaking, leaders are people too. They have their strengths. And those strengths, have really got them where they are today in their careers. But they also have skills that they need to learn and adopt to become even more effective leaders, especially in today's demanding environment with, the younger workforce and what people really need from their work. So, there is some opportunity to develop. For positions, interestingly, I don't see specific positions are grooming better leaders, but the leaders who commit to their growth and adopt a growth mindset are the leaders that believe that they're successful through the success of others versus their personal efforts. And these are the leaders who are more successful in today's environment. In other words, they know that developing and leading and executing through their team is certainly the way to lead. And as such, these leaders are ultimately the ones who possess those behaviors and will mentor other leaders to adopt those same behaviors. That's what I'm finding.
Do you find people that maybe aspire to be a leader down the road, that maybe take some coaching or take some classes or take some training earlier on in their career, maybe even before they are, maybe they don't even know they're going to be a leader yet, are a little more, I guess, conducive to change when it comes to accepting a person like yourself coming in down the road to really help them when they've reached that top?
Yeah, I think so. Case in point, I was just talking with a leader yesterday where we were, strategizing on the conversation with a really highly skilled individual in his team who doesn't really feel that a leadership position is next in his growth. Highly technical individual, but the next level in their organization is really that to be more front-facing or people leadership, and that's just not really what this fellow is really looking to do. So it's that conversation about, well, what is it that you really want to do? What are those strengths and passions that you really want to put to work? And for those that identify that leadership is where they want to go, is a great opportunity to start offering those opportunities. Whether it's through mentorship, it might be working with a coach. It could be more specific training on specific leadership skills and behaviors they can start learning to adopt in their current environment. But it's really about thinking, where do I want to go? I mean, there's no right or there's no wrong. I mean, leadership does require training, and it does require some commitment to learning and working on behavior muscles per se. Or, growing in a technical independent contributor career is fine too, but it's really about figuring out what that is and supporting it with that learning and growth approach. And there's no right or what's wrong. It's just what's really personal and what will work with that person.
No, very good answer. I like that. Actually, Josh now does have a question, and maybe we'll throw it up here saying, thoughts on the servant leadership model, and is it applicable in every industry?
The answer is absolutely. I really love the servant leadership model. It's really about how do you lead through others, and it's about how do you give. And so, there's many behaviors of the servant leadership model, but it is coaching as a leader, hugely popular, and it can be in any industry because it's just that way you want to lead people. That's what's really important, is adopting the mindset that you want to develop others. It's about growing your own self-awareness. Who are you as a leader? What are your strengths, and who do you want to be as a leader, and where do you want to get to? What's the gap, from where you are today and where you want to go? And then there's also in service to others. That's one of the bigger servant leadership behaviors, is being in service to others. So knowing that you're here to serve and that you want to serve and really help others. So absolutely, it's a way of being and doing, not necessarily industry specific. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, great answer. And thank you for the question, Josh. I guess let's...
Yeah, really great. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Sometimes we get questions, sometimes we don't. So when we do, I like to make sure that we do engage them. So what I'd like to move on a little bit here, and what's next for you, Shannon?
Oh, well, thanks for asking, Jade. So there's a few things that's going on for now. Is my own personal and professional growth, because I like to consider myself a learning leader, and I've just finished a really wonderful comprehensive program on conscious business for coaches as a certification program. And I collaborate with my own coaches mastermind group, and I meet with my own coach as well. But as for my business, I'm excited about a couple of things. I'm starting to develop a webinar series to help leaders, grow and learn, how to be better leaders in many different topics. I just released my new resurrected blog, leader. I guess you could call it my newsletter, with accountability. And it's one of the things that's kind of top of mind for leaders right now, is how do you hold others accountable? And they're really struggling with that. So my first article is on accountability, and I'm going to develop a webinar series coming up in that way. So stay tuned for that. As well as I'm just launching a brand new program. It's a group leadership program that's called Master Your Conversations. And I'm really super excited about it because I've designed it around the foundational leadership skills that a lot of leaders are looking to grow, but I've developed it to be in a peer learning mastermind coach approach way. So small groups, so they can be highly interactive. So there's a lot of peer learning and a lot of sharing of information, and to help build those foundational leadership skills with some flexibility in the program to have one-on-one coaching, as well as the opportunity to table a couple of the topics that a group may want to explore separately as well. And two streams around emerging leaders and established leaders, because the groups are just different. And I have winter and spring programs. And even more important, it's fun. A lot of people love to grow and learn in a fun group environment. So I've developed that. So that's on the horizon right now, and I'm marketing and launching as we speak. Thanks.
Perfect. And can everybody get that through your website, your Creative Impact Consulting?
My website is, it's brand new, and all of my programs are listed there under leadership development. You'll see one-on-one coaching, but also the group program as well. Yeah.
Perfect. And that's creativeimpactconsulting.ca. You can click on it in the comment section, and it'll go directly to Shannon's site. So I do have one last question, and it's the same question I've been asking for almost 100 episodes, and I thought it would change, and it hasn't. If you have one piece of advice for a small business, solopreneur, entrepreneur, what would that be, Shannon?
Yeah, it's interesting because, there's a few things, and, and I come at things from a people perspective. And obviously when you're a startup or a small business, obviously your business plan, your strategic plan is very important, but it's the people element. So you can't execute without the right talent, the good talent that you need to be able to do that. But it's also the talent that fits. And it's that culture. Know your culture, develop your culture, which is really the way you want things to be done here, is ultimately, how to look at that and what your core values are, in your business. And when you establish that, then you can hire and develop the talent that meets those values and the way you want to work. And then it becomes less clunky. So you have a cohesive, aligned front, and your values will guide the way you make decisions and identify yourself in the marketplace and to your clients. And then, leadership. Leadership is super important because ultimately you can't do it alone. You need your leaders to execute, and you need them to, be accountable and to be able to be relied upon. And ultimately, hiring and developing those leaders is really important early on. And as you're growing, because as you're always growing, you're needing to always consider the development. So I'm always, suggesting that to small business owners is really about developing your leaders and your next level of leaders, considering that as you're growing as an organization. The third thing is just your people, policies, and programs. As businesses grow, they need to establish some policies and programs, because ultimately what you're offering, to your people is to be a business worth belonging to. So I say it that way because there's many approaches to learning and development and policies and programs, and even just, obviously your pay and benefits programs, but opportunities to learn and grow. This new generation want to learn and grow, and they want to be supported by organizations who can offer that opportunity. And there's no one size fits all. As I alluded to earlier, learning and growing can be done through coaching, or through a mentorship program, or more specific training. And I always encourage businesses, because in a small business, the bottom line is hugely impacted, and you need to spend every dollar wisely. So certainly considering what that is and talking to, a service provider to really work out that right option is highly recommended. No,
that's great advice. And even on the back of my card, it says people are the heartbeat of your company. And if you don't have good people, it's going to be tough to grow and tough to succeed. So that's such an important point. So, well, Shannon, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today to come on, share your knowledge, and with our listeners today. So thank you very, very much.
This was just really a hoot. I haven't had an opportunity to pull up with somebody to have a great chat. So Jade, I really thank you for the opportunity to be on your show this week. This has been really great. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I know you shared some valuable knowledge, and I'm sure people will be able to take some of that. And I hope they check out your website. Again, it's you can click on it in the comment section, creativeimpactconsulting.ca. So thank you again very much, Shannon. I appreciate your time, and I hope everybody has a safe Halloween tomorrow. And
absolutely
across the street, and make sure you give some good candies for your parents.
Great advice, Jade.
That could be the most important advice today. Not all the crappy candies. I want the good candies.
Absolutely. I remember that as a kid coming home, and my dad was the first one in there. It was great. It was good fun.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Shannon, and have yourself a great day.
Oh, and you too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.